3 American destroyers transiting the Strait of Hormuz under direct fire from Iranian forces. That happened 2 days ago, May 8th. And yet, as I record this, the White House is saying the ceasefire is still holding. Let's be precise about what's happening here. Because what's unfolding in the Strait of Hormuz right now could either be the off-ramp to ending this war or the trigger for its most dangerous escalation yet. History didn't start today. Let me give you the full picture. To understand Thursday's clashes, you need the full timeline. On February 28th of this year, the United States and Israel launched Operation Epic Fury, a coordinated surprise strike on Iranian military sites, government buildings, and leadership targets. The opening salvo was devastating. 3 separate gatherings of Iranian regime officials were hit within half a minute of each other. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was assassinated. His daughter, son-in-law, and grandchild were also killed in the strikes. Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile facilities were targeted. Months of deliberate deception, including the staging of satellite imagery, had concealed the true readiness of U.S. and Israeli forces. Hundreds of drones and ballistic missiles were launched at Israel, at U.S. military bases across the region, and at Arab states hosting American forces: Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the UAE. And then Iran made its most consequential move. It closed the Strait of Hormuz. A ceasefire was finally declared on April 8th, but it has never been stable. Then, this Thursday, the U.S. launched Project Freedom, a naval escort operation designed to guide commercial vessels back through the strait. Iran responded by attacking the American ships. 3 U.S. Navy destroyers came under fire. Trump said on Truth Social that the destroyers were unharmed, that the Iranian attackers suffered great damage. Iran disputed every word of that. Tehran accused the U.S. of first targeting an Iranian oil tanker and striking civilian areas on Qasem Island, a strategic coastal position at the entrance to the strait. Iran said it fired in self-defense. So who fired first? As of this recording, we don't know. And that ambiguity, as I'll explain, is itself the story. Now here's what most coverage is missing. This is not a simple military standoff. This is a 3-dimensional crisis with compounding pressure points converging at exactly the same moment. The first, the Strait of Hormuz itself. The strait is 33 miles wide. At its narrowest point, it connects the Persian Gulf to the open ocean, and through it, under normal conditions, flows roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply, along with a major share of global liquefied natural gas. There is no realistic alternative route for most of this volume. The pipelines that exist bypass the strait only partially. Since Iran closed the waterway in early March, the economic consequences have been severe and worsening. U.S. gasoline prices have risen 50% since the start of the war. Global oil demand is now falling at its fastest rate outside the COVID pandemic. Shipping companies are rerouting around Africa. Insurance premiums on tankers have exploded. And ordinary consumers in the U.S. and Europe and Asia are paying the price at the pump and in the supermarket. The Trump administration launched Project Freedom specifically to break this blockade and restore the flow of trade. But on May 6th, just before Thursday's clashes, Secretary of State Marco Rubio declared the military operation against Iran over, and Trump suspended Project Freedom, citing progress in diplomatic talks. Then 2 days later, the shooting started again. This is where it gets important. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a waterway. It is the central bargaining chip of the entire peace negotiation. Iran is using it as leverage. Washington knows it. And every exchange of fire in those waters is a message sent at the negotiating table, not just on the battlefield. The second pressure point, the nuclear question. The original stated aims of Operation Epic Fury were to destroy Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs, and in Trump's own words, to achieve regime change. Khamenei is dead. His son has been named his successor, but Iran's nuclear program was damaged, not destroyed. Enrichment facilities were struck, some were degraded. But Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium built up over years was not eliminated. The knowledge was not erased. Negotiations are now being mediated by Pakistan, a deliberate and significant choice. Islamabad has its own nuclear arsenal. It has working relationships with both Tehran and Washington, and it carries credibility that Western mediators currently do not. The central dispute at the table is this: the United States demands zero uranium enrichment permanently. Iran says it will accept limits, but not full dismantlement. That is a position Iran has held for over a decade, and it has not moved significantly since the war began. There are reports Washington may propose a time-limited compromise, perhaps 20 years of suspended enrichment. Iran has reportedly countered with 5 years, 15 years of difference, with active missiles still in the region, and a new Iranian supreme leader who has everything to prove. The third pressure point, the regional spillover in China. This war did not stay contained between Iran and the United States. Hezbollah and Israel are now engaged in what is being called the 2026 Lebanon War. Over 2,000 people, civilians and combatants, have already been killed. Iraqi militias, the Houthis, Hamas remnants, all have been drawn in at varying levels of intensity. The entire Middle Eastern security architecture is under stress. Arab Gulf states that had been quietly rebuilding ties with Tehran now find themselves targeted by Iranian missiles and deeply alienated. And then there is China. Iran's foreign minister arrived in Beijing this week, his first face-to-face meeting with his Chinese counterpart since the war began. The official statement cited regional and international developments. Let me be direct. China is not a spectator in this crisis. Beijing imports significant volumes of Iranian oil, often in defiance of U.S. sanctions. It has no interest in a post-war Middle East dominated by American strategic influence, and it holds leverage over Iran that no Western power currently possesses. The real question no one is asking is this: can the United States manage a nuclear negotiation, a live naval standoff, a proxy war in Lebanon, and an active Chinese diplomatic intervention, all simultaneously? That is the strategic equation Washington is trying to solve right now. 3 indicators I'm tracking closely in the coming 72 hours. First, Tehran's formal response to the U.S. peace proposals. Washington is waiting. Iran has not yet replied. Thursday's clashes in the Strait may be Tehran signaling, we still have leverage, don't pressure us, or they may reflect a breakdown in command and control inside a leadership structure that is still reorganizing after Khamenei's death. Watch which version the Iranian government chooses to endorse publicly. That will tell you a great deal about who is actually in charge in Tehran. Second, the Strait of Hormuz. Trump has threatened extensive attacks on Iranian infrastructure if Iran does not reopen the waterway. That is not an idle threat, and Iran knows it. Any movement, a partial reopening, a new Iranian strike, or a joint statement will be the clearest signal yet of where these talks are actually heading. Third, Pakistan's mediation signals. Islamabad is quietly becoming one of the most consequential diplomatic actors in this entire crisis. Watch for any public statements from Pakistani Foreign Minister Dar, any scheduled meeting announcements, any framework language. If the talks are making real progress, Pakistan will signal it first. Context matters enormously here. The ceasefire of April 8th was never a peace deal. It was a pause, a moment to negotiate under maximum pressure, with the global economy already feeling the strain. What happened Thursday in the Strait of Hormuz is a reminder that the fundamental questions driving this conflict, Iran's nuclear ambitions, regional influence, energy control, remain completely unresolved. The situation is evolving, and I'll keep tracking it for you. If this analysis was useful, share it. Independent voices need your support to keep doing this work. This is Emily Johnson. This is Conflict Daily Zone. Stay informed, stay critical. I'll see you tomorrow.